Hi, I'm Kathleen Burns Kingsbury. I am the collaborator with the Hartford Funds on the program Family Money Talks. I'm going to take you through the client workbook, which is an adjunct to the client seminar or can be used as an individual piece on its own, working with clients or couples one-on-one. It's broken down into 3 different intelligences, which correspond with the client seminar. There is financial intelligence, emotional intelligence, and family intelligence. And we believe if you really tackle those 3 and talk about those 3 different areas, it lays a foundation for the next generation to be able to understand the purpose of wealth in their life, to get an experience of what's important in terms of managing money, what's important in terms of family values, and also gives them the tools around being more emotionally intelligent around money. So the first piece, as you will see in your workbook, is about financial intelligence. Financial intelligence is defined, and basically when somebody is financially intelligent, they understand the basics of finance and they understand how to manage money and or where to go to ask for help. This is not about becoming an expert in finance. It's about having the building blocks to have a good relationship with money and learning knowledge and skills in 6 different areas. There's saving, spending, managing debt, investing, giving, and budgeting. I prefer the word spending plan, budgeting, spending plan, whatever you want to use, but it's really about those basic building blocks. And what we do in this section of the workbook is we help you walk your client through an exercise that's going to help them identify some financial intelligence that they have, because everyone has some, and then how to think about sharing that intelligence with the next generation or their heirs. So as you will see in the exercise, we have them pick one area, so one of the 6 building blocks to focus in on. And then we ask them to create a story or to talk about an experience they had in that one area. They can share their best decision, their biggest mistake, a funny situation, or they can come up with something new and creative on their own. So the purpose of this exercise is to really help people share a relatable story around financial intelligence. What your clients do is they pick one area, so one of the 6 building blocks, and then they figure out how to craft a story around that that is going to involve some learning or some wisdom they can pass down to their family member. So that's financial intelligence. The next part of the workbook, we're still in the intelligence section, is emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is something that recently is getting much more attention in the financial advising world, but is so important for clients to have. When we're talking about emotional intelligence as it relates to money, we are talking about someone having a good relationship with money. In other words, having insight into how they think and feel about money and how those thoughts and feelings impact their financial habits and their decision making. So in the workbook, we walk you through an example and a model. You'll see the model. It's the connection between our thoughts, feelings, and financial behaviors. We give you an example, and then we have your clients on page 7 actually go through and complete that model themselves. We walk them through a series of exercises that will get them to identify a thought, a feeling, a behavior, and then an outcome. Now, it's a much more complicated world, money psychology, but this is the really basic building blocks of emotional intelligence. And what this exercise does is allows your clients to start to understand their own relationship with money so they can begin to talk to the next generation about their relationship with money. And believe it or not, families get together, do this exercise together, and have really rich, robust conversations. The last intelligence we talk about in the workbook is family intelligence. Family intelligence is your family history, your values, and your hopes for the next generation. In this field, we talk a lot about values-based financial planning. Well, one of the things that's important for parents or caregivers or adults passing down wealth is to think about why they created the wealth that they did, and what's important to them to communicate to the next generation about how they decided to use their wealth. It's about your clients deciding what is it that they value, taking a look at how they express these values in their financial behaviors, and then having a dialogue with their kids or their beneficiaries about how it's important to align your values with your financial plan, with your financial behaviors, because it leads you to more peace. In the workbook, we talk about how values can be passed down. We give concrete examples. You are showing your next generation that this is important, not only through your words, but through your actions. So the last part of the workbook is really key. It is a step-by-step guide on how to prepare for your first family meeting, how to then have a meeting, and lastly, how to understand how that meeting went or how to debrief that meeting. So what is important about preparing for a family meeting? One is to extend an invitation that is opening, not and collaborative. So it's really about extending that invitation, floating that idea with your next generation and seeing how they respond. It talks a little bit about who to decide to invite, where to have this meeting, and the idea is to pick one exercise, not to try to do all three, but one exercise during this meeting. Trust me, just sharing this one page and talking about how to float the ideas, how to decide who to invite, picking a time and place, and what exercise they want to do will lead you to a really rich conversation with your clients. And it will show them that you care more than just about their assets in the wealth transfer. You care about them successfully raising the next generation and passing on wealth successfully. The next page talks about meeting guidelines. What are the things that family members need to think about when they're in a family conversation around money? There are a set of guidelines here that you want to make sure that you're listening. You want to make sure that people can be heard. You want to be respectful. And that you need to keep in mind that this is a conversation. Limit it to 20, 30 minutes and keep it as light as possible. If it does get charged, there are people who will help you learn how to talk more effectively about money. As an advisor, you can decide if you're going to take any of that on, or you can refer out to a financial therapist, a family and marriage counselor, somebody who specifically helps and teaches people how to communicate more effectively. So it is really about just setting the framework, telling your clients that family money talks are important, giving them interactive exercises and things to think about and to how to draw out their wisdom, talking with them about preparing for a meeting and the guidelines of a family meeting. And then in terms of debriefing, I think what's important is you have shown them that you are a resource, that you want to help them talk to their kids, talk to the next generation, talk to their heirs about money. And in doing so, you are fostering trust and loyalty and showing them that you are a different type of advisor. But your next step from listening to this video is to review the client workbook, to do each of the exercises individually, and to think about how you can incorporate this material into your practice. This is Kathleen Burns Kingsbury saying thank you for listening and thank you for trying to incorporate this workbook into your advisory practice.